Say when. But good morning. Pura Vida. Welcome to this week's Dharma Talk. A very special program, which we'll tell you all about when the time comes. But we're running a little late, and they want to get their program started on time. So I'm going to turn this over to Mark, and he's going to do the opening meditation for us. There we go.
Good morning, everyone. So we have a significant talk that we're going to be talking about today. And in preparation of that, I'm going to ask everyone just to come into their breath. You've done this 1,000 times. You know what it feels like. You're setting yourself free of needing to fix it or correct it or adjust it or make it anything other than it is. Let it just be that. Notice the sound of your breath as you're breathing. Can you hear it over a helicopter? Or does it blend with the helicopter? Noticing your shoulders, noticing your back. Because today our meditation is going to be about being relaxed. Perfect timing for the helicopter when there's a distracting energy around. Being relaxed when we're otherwise occupied or something seems more important than being relaxed. In that, I ask you now I'm going to invite you now to take your breath a little bit deeper, a little bit longer, and noticing the transitions. Are you caught up in anything? Does it flow from inhalation to exhalation effortlessly? Do you feel the rounding? Or does it feel abrupt, like you just need to catch your breath? And when I say let that go, what I'm talking about is letting go of what it needs to be. Coming to the sound of community, of Sangha. Coming to the sound of a forest, of the birds. Recognize you are something infinitely more than just a person sitting here in your thought. The sound is interacting with you as you interact with it. Notice your breath. Your breath has changed. It's become softer, deeper, because you are letting go of those tensions or those uncertainties, and you're putting your focus on something that is infinitely more beneficial. Part of the reason why this is called prana, a life force energy, is because it fills you. You're no longer depleted, you're filling. Notice how that feels in your body. If you get a tingling or light feeling in your body, you're on the right track. See if you can relax more. You're relaxing by noticing any tensions and setting them free. You're noticing tensions and you're just breathing into them and they relax, they extend, they expand. A visual is a cloud. The higher a cloud goes, the bigger it gets. It expands. Here on Earth, it's dense water. And you're just feeling that expansion, that release, that letting go. While we're on the theme of water, I invite you to see your mind as an ocean. We know oceans have waves and currents. We know that the ocean can be quite troublesome, but also quite flat and calm. And your thoughts are very much the same way, aren't they? And so if you're looking at a stormy ocean, I invite you now to look at a calm ocean. It's just as simple as a choice. Your choice. It is just a choice. Notice your breath. And you feel that release. There may come a moment in your quiet that a thought comes. It's distracting and disruptive. It seems to want to take control of the situation. It tells you of its importance, lets you know that without it, that you are missing something. And I'm going to tell you right now that that is not true. It is just a thought. The emotion that you put into it is yours. The energy that you put into it is yours. It's just a story. Allowing your breath to take you ever deeper. And the reason is, when we discuss things that are of a personal or sensitive nature, we want to be aware how we feel about it, where our thoughts are going to derail us or confuse us. And when we can stay in that quiet, gentle repose, the quiet calm, and breathe into that quiet calm, we can hear truth without the emotional intensity. We can hear truth and know what we are called to do with it. Notice your body, notice your breath. Notice your body, notice your breath. You are infinitely more than random thought. You are a tranquility. You are the observer, witnessing the experience. Transcend doing into being. Release. Gentle, soft repose, ease, y tranquilo. Muy tranquilo aquí, muy tranquilo aquí. Noticing the ocean and noticing that it is calm, feeling the gentle breeze, the gift of community. Moments of silence, and then I will call you back. Let your breath deepen, your eyes softly open into soft gaze forward. You've all done this many times. Remaining in the moment, to the sound of the birds, the gentle breeze. You are here in community. You are here with friends. You're here for a conscious experience shared together. And you are okay. Everything is okay. Namaste.
Thank you, Mark. That was beautiful. Thank you very, very much. This is Jim. That's not.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to do a 30-minute talk, so I need someone to time me because I tend to go longer than this. Yes? Okay, so at 25 minutes, will you hold up 5 fingers so that I know that I have 5 minutes left? Then I'll figure out where I go at that point. We have a 2-part day today. The first part being about grief, death, dying from a Buddhist and a psychological perspective, and then we have a little break, and then if you'd like to stay from at 11 o'clock, I believe that Barb is going to Yes, Barb, you're going to talk to us, and she's our substitute talker at 11 o'clock today. Thank you, Barb.
The speaker got stuck.
The speaker is stuck on the road, yeah, because of an accident. Yeah, so we'll do. Well, that's good. We're glad we have you. I want to start with a short story. I have been incredibly healthy. My family has been incredibly healthy. We have some kind of an enzyme that keeps us away from all kinds of stuff. I have no idea why. My parents are 86, never been in the hospital. I've never missed a day of anything. Really quite amazing. So when you get to a topic like this, death and dying, we're amateurs about the topic because we've faced some losses in living, but we haven't faced very many out of the ordinary deaths. All of our children are born regularly with little trouble. It's really quite a blessing to have come from this. And so this topic about grieving and death and dying is difficult. My most recent experience of it was with our little dog, Bolita. Some of you know the story of Bolita, but Bolita was the one girl on our mountain. Me and my partner are on the mountain and 2 other male dogs, and poor little Bolita, who had stuck with the 4 guys. And she was her own unique person, but she followed me around. Nobody's ever followed me around. Only Bolita. And so when she started to struggle and we had to put her to sleep because there was no real quality of life left in her, it was a big traumatic thing. My partner had Bolita since she was a little stray puppy. And so it was a big deal for him. It was a very interesting experience for me because the day after we buried her up on the mountain, I was laying on the bed thinking about her because she'd normally take a siesta with me. And so here I am now on the bed alone, and she's in the ground in another spot, and all of a sudden, a bird started chirping at me incessantly through the window. It would not stop until I went out on the patio, got up from the bed, went out on the patio, and watched it. And it just kept chirping at me, and then it went away. About 10 minutes. I think that Bolita sent the bird. Who knows? But that's what I believe. In my growing up, our pastor's son committed suicide, and a red bird came to the mother. But it came like 30 days in a row. Never seen before, and I'd never seen this red tanager on our property except for that day, and I haven't seen it since. So this is all a mystery. I think it's good to start with that idea. Death, dying, grief even is a mystery to us. How it hits us and what we do with it is really big. There's so many religious perspectives on this and psychological perspectives. I'm going to give you a couple of things because we only have 30 minutes. I have more material than 30 minutes here. But yeah.
I'd like to share something really quick because it talks to what you were
Yeah.
saying.
Okay, go ahead, Barb.
Speak up.
Speak up, Barb.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've had a dog for 11 years. I've had several dogs, but one of them died in his sleep, and I was away. And when I got back, the next day, I was out in the yard and talking to the workers. And it must have been 7 in the morning, and I'm looking at the trees, and there are two white-faced monkeys. They never come that close. And they were in my mango trees going back and forth. And then I turned to go onto the veranda, and Stephen said, "Look at the rainbow." And there was a big rainbow. And that really gave me comfort.
That touched you.
That whole thing gave me comfort. I knew that the monkeys were sent, and I knew that everything was okay.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Often people use the rainbow as an image of crossing, especially animals. It seems, right? I mean, that's kind of the rainbow bridge. Is one of the things. I'm sure that everybody in the room has lost someone or something or experienced loss, and so it's a topic that there's a lot of mystery about, but there's also a lot of study and writing about, and then documenting of people's experiences. So the Buddhists talked, almost all the Buddhists talk about grief and loss connected with dukkha. The dukkha is the natural sufferings that happen to us in life. And the source of our sufferings, as the Four Noble Truths taught by the Buddha say, they arise from attachment. And the dukkha, the grief and the suffering that we have in life, is that we attach to impermanent things. Things that will evolve away from us. Things that will change. And when we attach to things as they were, or as we'd hope that they would stay, we suffer. That's dukkha. That's natural suffering in life. Almost all the Buddhist teaching connects grief and loss to this dukkha suffering. The idea of impermanence, that everything will change and everything will evolve somewhere that it's not. And so the Buddhists don't believe that struggling with this idea is good or bad. There's no moral judgment about how you should do this, but rather that grief should be done with intention and knowledge. Should do it intentionally and with knowledge. as much knowledge as there is in the mystery of things. A big resource in the Buddhist teaching about grief and loss is the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is a series of writings around the 8th century, and it's rituals and prayers that prepare the energy for the transformation that is to come. One thing that I learned this week is two things that I learned in this idea from the Book of the Dead is that this is a circle: birth, life, death, rebirth.
And the gap
Life.
is your gap. Between death and rebirth is the bardo.
That's exactly what I have in my notes. So thank you.
There's your gap.
There. Go ahead. Talk about that for just a second.
No, you do. You do.
Okay. All right. So Buddhists believe. Yeah. Well, you're right on track. As always, we're just like syncopathic.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that a word?
Psychopathic.
Psychopathic, maybe. Yeah. A lot of Tibetan Buddhists believe that there are 49 days. 7 times 7. That there are 49 days by which called bardo, which is the intermediate state between physical death and rebirth. And so in the grieving of losing someone, there's 49 days of which there is positivity, because actually the Buddhists believe that the prayers and the rituals that happen daily during those 49 days help prepare you for the next step. So that actually it's not just up to you. That the community, again, the universe, the whole, is propelling the quote individual towards rebirth. And so that cycle of birth, life, death, bardo, and rebirth is the 5 stages that Tibetan Buddhists talk about in this. And one of the quotes that is really really good from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, Ruthie did last week, and I want to read it again because there are many of you that were not here. This is from the Book of the Dead. Remember the clear light, the pure, clear, white light from which everything in the universe comes. Remember, to which everything in the universe returns. The original nature of your own mind. The natural state of the universe unmanifest. Let go into this clear light. Trust it. Merge with it. It is your own true nature. It is home. This is very different, and I'm not going to highlight again what I did 2 weeks ago about the difference in Christian theology between redemptive and incarnational theology. This is incarnational theology, that you come from something beautiful, bright, you are that, and your job is to return to it, to return from where you came. And that's pure. And that is our nature, and that is our home. And we come from our home, we live in our home, we return to our homes. All very circular, very un-Western, by the way. Western thought and theology and thinking on all these things is very linear. This, then this, then this, then this, and this is very circular. You circle around until you attain enlightenment. Makes sense so far? Okay, it's a very different system than a lot of us grew up in and thought about. I want to go to psychology quickly. two sets of things that I've worked with as a therapist in people dealing with grief. First of all, it's just important to be there with them. If you could take a graduate course in how to be a therapist with grieving people, be there with them. That's all they need. And so there's a famous lady, I think she was Swiss, I could be wrong about that, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and she said there are 5 stages of grief. This is the most famous psychological teaching, that you go through these 5 stages, but it's messy. It's not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like 1, 1, 3, 4, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1. And the messy stages of this: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. I have used 8 stages of grief, which go into a little bit more psychological thing. That you start with an initial awareness that something has changed, the shock, the numbness of it. In our denial, we hold on. But in our resentment, anger, and blaming, we begin the process of letting go. We feel sad about the loss. We start to gain peace in our sadness. We start to integrate the loss by talking about it. We reformulate the loss, where we start to restructure our thoughts connected with this loss. And then we integrate this loss into our living. And so the psychologists go really through the process that by which we get over it. But Buddhists are really talking about how you change your mind about this. When I think about Bolita, I can think about how she was and feel sad about that. Or I can reframe my mind and celebrate that.
So happy you had her.
So happy I had her. Surprised at her influence. So happy that she had that influence. And that was then, and this is now. So I did do some quotes, and then actually this is all I have. So I'm going to some quotes that first of all from the Buddha. You want to say something first? Okay, got it. I thought maybe you wanted.
I have to ask Suzanne. I had her check something out for me. I made a couple of mistakes last week.
Okay.
But we'll do that later.
Okay. First of all, the Buddha talked about loss. Our sorrows and our wounds are healed only when we touch them with compassion. Our sorrows and our wounds are healed only when we touch them with compassion. Another early quote: death is not against life. Life continues even after death. It was there before birth. It will be there after death. Quite a hopeful phrase. It's about returning where you came from.
I like that.
Yeah, let me read it again then. Death is not against life. Life continues even after death. It was there before birth. It will be there after death. The third, Jack Cornfield. In the end, these things matter the most. How well did you love? How fully did you live? How deeply did you let go? Another good one. I have 6 of these.
I got one.
Say not in grief that she is no more, but say in thankfulness that she was. A death is not the extinguishing of a light, but the putting out of a lamp because the dawn has come.
Read that one again. That's a good.
These are good. You have to think about these.
That's a good
Say
one.
not to grief that she is no more, but saying thankfulness that she was. Death is not the extinguishing of a light, but the putting out of a lamp because the dawn has come.
That's beautiful.
It's really nice. Grief can be. This is our famous poet Rumi, I have a reading. We'll see if we'll get to it. Grief can be a garden of compassion if you keep your heart open through everything. Your pain can be your greatest ally in life's search for love and wisdom. So that's a very different road that our suffering can lead us to. Finally, Washington Irving, there is a sacredness in tears. They are not the mark of weakness, but of power. They speak more eloquently than 10,000 tongues. Tears are the messengers of overwhelming grief, of deep compassion, and of unspeakable joy. Great quotes. You said you had one more.
I have one from the Buddha, which goes this way. So view this fleeting world. A star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom, and a dream. This is going to the fact of everything changing. It is not permanent, it's impermanence. I did that in my last talk. I don't know why I said approaching death, because you give this reading, I believe. I did it for 40 days, but there is a 49-day one. But they send the monks to the house of someone who is dying to read to them while they go through the process. But then after death, they continue with the prayers, and the family joins them. And they tell the family, don't mourn in front of the dead. Sit and just do the rituals with us, because he's okay or she's okay. And you don't want to make them want to come back even. We're here to help them move on.
Send them away.
Yeah. So anyway, as I said, I met a couple of Buddhists.
I want to give a resource as well about this. There's a movie, a documentary called The Tibetan Book of the Dead, A Way of Life, and it's narrated by Leonard Cohen.
Yeah, I asked you to check.
And so you might want to look that up.
Yeah, it's quite good.
It's on a Netflix thing, isn't it?
It's on YouTube.
I think it's on YouTube.
It's been around for years. I have it on VHS, for heaven's sake.
Yeah.
Way back. And but
that'd be good. That'd be good narrated by Leonard Cohen too.
He's wonderful, and they do go through this whole procedure. And Suzanne was going to look up for me the 49 or 40 days. Huh?
I sent you 2.
I haven't seen them.
Okay, I called this morning to see if you wanted me to print them, and I can do that.
Okay. Is it 40 days or 49 days
49.
after death? 49. So I was incorrect. I cheated Doug out of 9 days.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you want to find it, what should you type in?
Leonard Cohen?
Yeah, it's just called the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Yeah, you can.
Dead.
It's on YouTube. Yeah. It's very old and it's very, very nice.
Mm-hmm.
The
Seeing a bunch of people were not here last week, I think this Rumi poem would be really appropriate to end with. And then if there's any questions, because I think we're doing well with time.
7 minutes.
All right. This poem has many, many facets, but it fits beautifully with this topic today. Rumi. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. Any comments or questions? I can't believe I was that succinct. I better take this as a lesson.
That's good. Well, it's interesting that Kubler-Ross and Ram Dass knew each other quite well, and Ram Dass, of course, was into taking care of people who were dying. He formed the Death and Dying, whatever you call it, in San Francisco during the AIDS epidemic. And he got into it with her because she had written a book called Death is an Outrage. And he wrote a book, he said, Death is not an outrage. You know, and so we can argue about everything, including about dying. But
You know, the one thing about grief and loss, it just doesn't have to deal with that. We deal with losses all the time in life as well. Not just losing people. Divorce is a huge loss. Losing of a fortune is a huge loss. Loss of relationships in your families because of disagreements or those kind of things is a huge loss. And so these same ideas that the loss is a doorway is that this period, that there's a period of as the as this 8 stage thing said, there's all these things that will lead you to integration, where what you've lost becomes a part of life. But you have to reorient yourself. I told a long time ago when I did this topic, I found some notes from like 4 years ago when I did this topic. And I remember sharing about my friend Audine in Los Angeles, who lost her husband, Cy. She was a piano player. I was a piano player, and we knew each other that way. And she lost her friend, her best friend and her partner. They married late, in their 40s, and they were in their 80s, and she lost him, and she could never get to integration. She could only get to what she had lost. And it was, when I went back to visit 2 years later, people are like, please, will you go see Audine? She doesn't come to our groups anymore. And I went, and all the curtains were pulled in her house. And this is a beautiful lady. She looked like Dinah Shore. Beautiful lady, and just sweet, sweet person. But she had not been able to make that transition. She had not been able to find the road of enlightenment about the meaning of that person in her life and integrate it into the future. And that was the real sad thing. She stalled. She got stuck. And there's stages in all of this where people do get stuck. And that's why you need the support and the community and the talking about this, and maybe even reorienting your mind about what death really is. These are new, interesting ideas. I'm hoping Bolitha comes back as the red bird. Another red bird. Michael.
Just a piece of information who's interested in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, study it or glean something. There's another reading of it that's quite excellent by Richard Gere.
Yeah, he did a good one too. Yeah. Richard Gere is very
Nobody
Buddhist.
lends a nice touch to the way the words are spoken. And you appreciate it. I love Leonard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Those
both
are
good.
two very different voices. Thank you, Michael. That's good.
Yeah, that is. I don't think you can pull that one up though on YouTube.
That's where I first.
Did you? Is it there? Well, maybe just when I tried it wasn't. It temporarily was gone. But yeah.
Any other
Based
comments?
on
Yeah, John.
your work,
Yeah.
what is the hardest stage for people to get through?
Depends on the person. How's that for an answer?
Yeah, well, I'm sure.
Do you know people who are? I'm from Nordic people. We're great deniers. We're trained in denial. So we just get busy.
Put you in a boat, shove you off on fire, and
right. Well, I guess they're going. Let's go have some food. and so for my style of people, I think that's a stage where people get so they don't work their way through the bargaining, through the sadness, through the anger that they do. I think that I can be stereotypical, that often men get stalled in the anger stage. And I think there are many people who have a propensity towards mental health depression, that the depression stage is really difficult to dig out. They dug a hole and then they jumped in the hole, and then they've used the dirt that they dug the hole from to bury themselves. Audine is a perfect example. So it depends on the person a lot. I think the process is that you just have to let it be what it is. If you let it be, if you do it with, the Buddhists say you do it with intention. If you're intentional about your grieving, that means you give yourself space. And also, I teach in my therapy sessions that when you pay attention to something and it's very intense, then you distract. Then you don't dig yourself too big a hole. Then you come and visit it again. Then you distract. You come and visit it again. Distract. Because in those ways, now you've paid attention intentionally and in a kind and gentle, compassionate way to yourself. So, any other, somebody? Yeah, Michael.
Can you describe a bit how you would view bargaining, how that would show up?
Sure. Yeah. I think you want to know. I want to read what. Let's see what Kubler-Ross says. Bargaining a loss. It seems like you will do anything if your loved one would be spared. Please, God, you bargain. I will never be angry at my mother again if you'll just let her live. After a loss, bargaining can take the form of a temporary truce. What if I devote the rest of my life to helping others? Then can I wake up and realize this has all been a bad dream? We become lost in a maze, if only and what if. We want life to return to what it was. We want our loved ones restored. We want to go back in time. I'll give you an example. I want to give you an example of this. I had an aunt who really struggled, my mom's sister, who really struggled with a lot of mental health issues. She lost her favorite son to drowning at 18. She lost her abusive husband early. We kind of felt that was a blessing, but she didn't kill him. He almost killed her. Yeah. But and the two other kids that she had were somewhat aloof and on their own, and those things. And so she hung their shirts in the living room on clotheslines, and she lived among the shirts every day. Oh, wow. And once a week, she'd take them down and iron them and then put them back.
Did that help her?
No, that's creepy.
No, it did not help her. She was bargaining. She wanted them still in the room with her, and that was her way of doing her bargaining. It's really a head game.
I was wondering who's in the bargain.
Well, it depends who you want to be in the bargain. It can be just you, like that idea that I'll be a better person I'll be a better person if you allow this person to come back, or if you don't allow them to die. I suppose that's a part of the grieving process before death. And so I think everybody does this little bargaining different. And anybody else have an idea for Michael of bargaining? Any of you bargained about that, John?
Dealing with the clothes of somebody or the if
It's difficult.
the paraphernalia.
Yeah, the stuff.
You don't want to throw it out because if they came back, they'd miss it.
Yeah.
So you're hanging on to.
You are hanging on. Bargaining is trying to hang on.
Edgar Allan Poe, all his creativity came from his childhood because his father died when he was young, and his mother went into a state of clinical depression, extreme grief. And you mentioned closing all the drapes. She darkened the entire house. No one was allowed to speak above a very low tone. There was no music. There was no laughter. There was no joy. And everything was black. And that's what he had to deal with, was not his grief, but his mother's grief.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like anything else. It affects everybody around.
One of the helpful things that I like in all this literature is that ritual can be a part of the intentional process of grieving. Mm-hmm. So this 49 days where you continually do the same rituals. I know what anybody Jewish here?
We went through.
Yeah, so you sit in silence, right?
You sit in what you do in the Bardo time.
Yeah.
It's much. I mean, a Jewish person, they die, and the next day they're in the ground.
The 3 days, don't you have?
No, it's basically should be the next day.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you actually hire someone, or you can stay with the person overnight while their spirit leaves. And then they're put into the ground. But it's much shorter than 49 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the tradition? I'm trying to think of the tradition where people sit.
Shiva?
Shiva.
Yeah, the Shiva, that's 7 days.
Yeah.
After a Jewish person dies,
yeah,
all the mirrors are covered.
Yeah.
People congregate together.
Yeah.
And and you don't wear makeup or anything like that. And you just talk about the person. Yeah. And I think it's a great idea. Shivas are fabulous. Yeah. You're with community.
Kind of like a wake.
You kind of see all the commonality of all these things. There's these threads about community and threads about talking and threads about remembering positivity. If ever you want to just have the nicest thing said to you, attend your funeral.
Do you know we had
people don't say any crap about you.
We had a lovely Negro woman who worked for my stepmother for her whole life, and she wanted her funeral before she died. She was in perfectly good health, but she was getting up there, And Lula May was her name, and she wanted a funeral, so we put on a first-rate funeral for Lula May. And she got to sit on the throne, and all the people, it was in the church, and all her friends and neighbors. And I thought it was a great idea. She just sat there like, she had her send-off. After that, it was all downhill. Or uphill, depending on how you look at it. But, yeah.
Well, let's do a loving kindness meditation.
Can I just say one thing before you?
Yeah, of course.
I just wanted to say that, all the years I've been coming here, and specifically these last 2 talks about death, and the reading I've been doing in conjunction with this has really helped me to not be so afraid of death.
Don't be afraid of death.
Ram
Dass has it exactly right. Death is perfectly safe.
Yeah.
It's perfectly safe. You don't have to be afraid of death.
You're doing a good process.
Good for you. That's a good process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And thank you for encouraging us on this road.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify the intentional going back to grief. So what you meant or what I am trying to clarify. So incrementally is a good way of processing grief. Yes. So you intentionally go and then you feed yourself again to health, and then you go back. That's what you're saying.
That's a combination of Buddhist ideas and psychology and Jeff. So you can take it for what all that combination is.
It's all
But
good.
but you want to know the idea that you intentionally look at this from all the angles is how long have I been doing this? As long as I've been here, I've been saying it's important that we put things in an open hand.
And then let it go. So
And
that's so what I'm thinking is usually it's like you grieve. You surround yourself in the grief and you feel it and you're there.
Yeah.
And then you are over it. Or not over it completely, but you let it go.
It
Yeah.
merges
So this is
with
kind
your
of
memories.
a different idea, and I like it in that you don't have to completely submerge yourself in grief. You can kind of touch it and come back to it and experience it.
To me, this is my philosophy about a change is sporadic gradual change. It's so much better. People often ask me about ayahuasca and all kinds of those things, and I'm a therapist, and so we do sessions over periods of weeks. And they'll say, "What do you think?" I'm like, "That's fine," but know that also the journey is a process by which you pay attention, and then I actually, because I have people journal about some of their losses. That if you pay attention, I'd rather you spend 15 minutes at that than 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day spend 15 minutes at it. You'll start to see all the nuances of what's going on. And also you won't dig yourself a hole. If you have a depressive nature and you do that, you could dig yourself into a nice big depressive hole. And once you get down in that hole, you might not know how to jump out. So I feel that feels compassionate, feels gentle, it feels continuous. That's how I think of it. And I think as long as that word intentional is there for you. I really have grown to love the word distraction. That you pay attention and then you distract. And then you pay attention again and you distract. This is what therapists do all the time. Therapists are their number one hobby is gardening because plants don't talk to you. So you pay attention to your clients, distract with gardening. Pay attention to your clients, distract with gardening.
I wanted to mention how you reframed the word acceptance because that's like the last step, and it's big. Acceptance is big. It's like you have to accept this. It feels like it. So I like how you said you integrate it into your life. Mm-hmm. It just feels better. It's not so big.
Things that are meaningful for us, they're meant to still be meaningful for us. So we should retain those. It's interesting all these images of letting things go, but do they go? I don't think they do.
No,
our processing of them goes.
The negative emotions of them go.
Yeah, they do.
That's what you release.
Time is a healer. Mm-hmm. With this. Yeah, Mark.
Just a parallel, something that happens in the body, and I like to equate this to grief, is if you develop a cough, you cough and you cough. But if you keep coughing, then your throat becomes irritated, and it sends a message to the body that there's still something there. And so it continues to cough, which makes the problem just keep going on. And what you're talking about is having the cough and then taking time for the body to heal the throat so it doesn't have the irritation, so it has to feel like it keeps coughing. And this loop that we get into, both with our throat but also with our process, can go until there's some division, some breakaway from it to rebalance.
That's a really good visual.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a mysterious topic, is it not? Are we for sure? I don't know. I'm not sure I'm for sure about this, but I bow to the mystery.
Yeah. But I just listened to a wonderful talk by Adyashanti, and I hope you all listen to him sometimes. Anyway, he says, have you ever considered that if you flip this over, you're now in the bardo here, because we have decided that the true nature of everything is clarity, white light. And yet everybody here is in chaos and looking for some kind of mind-blowing, consciousness altering experience, and they don't realize this is it.
You're talking about like ayahuasca.
You're mind altering from the clear state. You took something on the other side, and this is what you get for it. Which I thought was kind of clever. Anyway, oh well, we don't know.
How about if we end with "we don't know"?
We know. On the lighter side too, my daughter sent a joke, and I couldn't see it well enough to see what the animal was, but it's sitting there like this, and she says it's a lemur, and the cartoon says, "Hurry up with this peace of mind thing, please. I haven't got all day." So there you go. Here we are. Everybody ready?
I think there are people that might not have done the loving kindness meditation.
Okay. To do this, you choose 5 people. You begin with yourself. Everything flows from the inside out in the Dharma. So you begin with yourself, and then you bring to mind someone you love very much. And then you bring to mind what we call a neutral person. This is someone like someone who waits on you, or at the grocery store and you like them, but you're not intimate. You're not really friends, but they're there, or a neighbor that you pass on the road. The 4th one is someone with whom you're in conflict. And the 5th one is all beings. I'm going to say a phrase to yourself, repeat it inside your head. Let it kind of resonate in there. And what you're doing is moving out and out and out and out with loving kindness. Okay, there you go. Give me a ding, Sharon. Take a few deep breaths. To yourself. May I be well. May no harm come to me. May I live with ease. For new people, ease is equanimity, poise, or balance, not comfort necessarily. May I live with ease, calm and peaceful. May I be happy. And now you bring to mind someone you love, that you love with all your heart. You look at them and you smile to them and you say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And now you smile and you move on to your neutral person. If you don't know his or her name, address as friend. May you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And now, as they fade into the rear view, you bring to mind a person with whom you are in conflict. And with as much absolute certainty as you can bring up, you say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm, and peaceful. May you be happy. Breathe into that for a moment. And put your hands on your heart, which is the only place emotionally, symbolically, that we have large enough to embrace all that is. 7 billion people or 8 billion people on this planet, who knows how many other places. And when you finish kind of envisioning this phantasmagoria of sentient beings, you say, may all beings everywhere on this plane and all other planes be well. May all beings everywhere be safe. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering. May all beings everywhere be happy. And stay with the feeling that this is engendered. Let it settle. Release your hands. And we'll close with this little benediction from the Unitarian Church. Hands together. Go in peace. Go making peace. Living gently. Loving mightily. And bowing to the mysteries.